Grown black folks talk. I learned something important from Umar Johnson, y'all. Technically, it didn't come from Umar Johnson. It came from Lennon Honor, who's been covering him forever and a day. Now, I had given up on listening to that, but Lennon Honor also went on and went back to college and graduated. So he had a live graduation party, which was very nice. He's 45 years old, and he had been someone who had not completed college, and then he got married, had 5 children, worked multiple jobs, sometimes three at a time, but decided that at some point he felt terrible about what he hadn't done for his family. And he said, you know what, I got to go get this done. I want my children to see that it is possible for a black man to do the things that he needs to do to put his family where his family needs to go. So I need to do this so they see me. So I happened to glom back in on his content at that point and then listen back to a couple of things that he's done since his graduation actually happened. And he said something, and I was just like, he said about that school that is not open that Umar Johnson has basically turned that building that he's purchased into the kicking spot. I'm like, ooh, yeah, the kicking spot where people just come and hang out. They ain't got nothing else to do, so they just come there and kick it. He says basically he's having dances and block parties and always has people up there when he's doing his videos just hanging around. It's the kicking spot for a whole bunch of middle-aged people that are not doing anything with their lives. I'm like, okay, then that reminded me of Neely Fuller Jr.'s book. Now, it's a long title. I know it's The Compensatory Code. You can find it if you Google it that way. There's a chapter in there that says Black people should not even come together at all without an agenda. Because if they do come together without an agenda, the conversation tends to generate into the common discourse, which is not getting us anywhere. Now, for the nature of that common discourse, my mind just then went to Sterling Plump's Black Rituals, where Sterling Plump, and he did it so much more eloquently than I can remember to do it. But he said that basically it comes down to performance rituals. For the 21st century, we will describe these rituals as styling, profiling, signifying, stunting, and worried about who's going to have sex with whom. Performance rituals. So the total of this is no matter how noble the project starts, because many people at the beginning, maybe even Umar Johnson believed in what he was doing. And it's degenerated. This man is going in and out of gambling dens, trying to gamble up some money for the school at this point. Themis and Thoth covered this not that long ago, maybe about a year and a quarter ago, covered this. Um, it's degenerated. Styling, profiling, signifying, gossiping, and worried about who other people are having sex with. It's worked all the way down. And of course, the constant racial and internecine gender fighting. If you look at Umar's channels, that's what you see all the time. Even Dr. Johnson is a victim of this gravity of what Neely Fuller Jr. and Sterling Plump said always happens. Then I sat there and I thought about how many churches, even at time periods in my own church, folks love to hear about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But if you stop and think about it, the reason why the generation of my parents and grandparents, not all of them were successful in getting their kids out of the crack house, is because one club usually can't shut another down. There was no power in either place. They were just doing different elements of the coping rituals, we shall say. We do a lot of things to relieve the stress that we're going through, but we don't put a lot of energy in our common discourse into doing the things that will cause us to be able to heal and end it. And even Dr. Johnson is not immune. Now, I know people have very differing opinions about Umar Johnson. I'm being extremely respectful in referring to him as Dr. Johnson. But again, on this channel, we are attempting to stay above the common the discourse. We are people that do work over here. We have Bible studies so we can find out, oh, wait, we're not just peons. Every one of us who's a Christian is a king and a priest, including the women, and even the children who are saved. We all have the power to go before God and ask Him to bring His power into any situation at any time, as long as we're on good terms and are on our holiness, so that He is willing to hear us when we ask for things. And so we ask for the right things. But as long as we work on that, that's kind of power we walk with in the world. We've sat up here and did the crypto playlist. I've talked about a lot of subjects that will really help you move forward in your life. I'm not trying to do the common discourse, but without vigilance, anybody can fall down to that level. And it is getting increasingly dangerous. I said on the previous video about President Trump, I'm sure for President Trump, everybody has an opinion about it. We're going to spend a lot of energy, online and off, talking about this indictment. Well, an indictment is not a conviction. He is innocent until proven guilty. Nothing has changed. He has not even been arrested yet. May happen this weekend, which is why I was telling y'all, be careful. Depending on where you live, depending on how well you know your locale, even in liberal San Francisco, the KKK rallied 8 blocks from my door in 2016. But the thing I want to say in this video to really focus on is we have to learn how to take all that energy from styling, profiling, signifying, kicking it, and relaxing, and really invest it on some work that's going to secure our situation and change our situations. And that goes back to what we've been talking about for a lot of our spring conversations about rooms to be in. I really need us to think about something, okay? Every successful investor and trader, long term, in a bull market, you can do things on the short term that will never work in any other time. But long term, rain or shine, someone like me who can increase their holdings in a bear knows something. Never go into an investment without a plan to get out, ever. Never get so wedded to anything, especially not a trade. When you make a trade, there's something called an OCO, which is one or the other. One cancels the other. OCO. An OCO order is if it gets here, sell it, and if it goes down here, sell it. You can leave those up for a long time. But you really have to have a disciplined mind for an OCO, because you have now settled yourself down to, if it goes to this high, I'm out. And if it goes to this low, I'm out. The other thing you do in investments called a stop loss. You leave your stuff on the exchange, but you put in a point that you've decided without emotion. You let the exchange do this. Everything, it's all automated now. At this point, I'm out. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to make a decision. I have predetermined it. So I know what I'm going into the room to do. I know the conditions in which I'm going to exit it. Every successful long-term trader or investor, you see this big peak I have behind me? Believe it or not, as much as I love Hive, there are third rail issues because humans are always going to be humaning. And certain ones are met and exceeded, I'm out. I'll pull everything I have because humans are always going to be humaning. And everybody there isn't perfect. I'm not either. But Hive pretty well represents, no, it is skewed toward a better end. But it's theoretically possible if some things go wrong, that things could really go wrong. Am I going to follow it all down if it does? Who, me? The nacho dealer? Oh, no. Even on something that's a long-term investment for me, I know where I'm going to leave the room if it comes to that. And of course, that's the long shot of long shots, but you have to know. But before we even get to how we leave the room, why are you in the room? Do you know who you are in the room? Is who you are conducive with the room you're in? Are you in a particular room because a whole lot of people you know are there? Did you follow some folks into a particular place? This is how we get into the trouble Neely Fuller and Sterling Plump get us into. Do you know why you're in the room? Do you know who you are in the room? It's said in a card game that if you ever sit down to a card game and you don't know who the mark is, the con, the person who's about to get taken for everything they have, if you don't know, it's you. Do you know who you are in the room? Do you know what you came to do? Or did you just end up in a room because other people were there that you knew and you felt it was going to be a good time? This is something that in this spring, I really need you to think about. I really need you to think about the codependency. I'm going to put the therapy and life coaching resources in the chat. And Shameless plug for Jesus Christ. I know some of us need to be reparented, but God the Father is waiting right there for y'all to come back to him that don't know him. And I know that's not everybody's choice, but I always have to speak out for the fact that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. You can be done with the burden of guilt and shame that keeps you weak. Believe on him, that he rose again the third day and will cover you with his righteousness, such that he becomes your elder brother and God becomes a father who then will do the work through the Holy Spirit to reparent you. But if you feel like you want to do it on your own, I will put the life coaching and therapy resources in the chat again. I gotta remember to do this. But it's been on. If you watch my videos any amount of time, it's there. See, we spend a whole lot of energy trying to stay warm in a cold world by burning down a lot of things around us. We burn up a lot of energy arguing with people. We burn up a lot of energy worried about people that aren't thinking about us. Now that they've arrested Jonathan Majors and set that up and set him up as a boogeyman with his classic African American looks, that's going to take some of the heat off Donald Trump. In some ways, that was probably predictable. That's a different video. Because we don't have enough information still to know guilt or innocence. He too was innocent until proven guilty. But the thing about it is, neither Jonathan Majors nor Donald Trump, again, are they paying any bills in your house? Donald Trump was the president, and he paid some bills in our house with stimulus check. So we're going to have to put him on a slightly higher level. But what has he done for us lately? He's been out of office for 2 years and some change now. What has he done for us lately? Nothing, except scared a whole bunch of us. But even then, some of the reasons that we're scared is because we're not making the preparations we need to make. So in the crypto world, a lot of people use their stimulus to be able to get situated with this. They had a plan, they worked it, and got out. And will probably never need government help again. Had a plan, they worked it. A lot of people did that. Not this one, hold on. There we go. A lot of people did that. They knew why they were going in the room. They got in, they got out. Now, that was my first bull, so I didn't do as well as I could have because that was still learning. Crypto is wild, y'all. It is. Everything that I've shared with you, and I'm going to do some more. I've just been working on some, different things. We just finished the intercessory prayer Bible study, but it's been there's a certain amount of time. You're in a new room. I knew what I went in there for, but I didn't know how to work it yet. Now, feel a little bit more comfortable. It's my second bear. I feel good about what I'm able to do. But I have 4 years of a head of steam now. So I put in the time and the work. And see, what happens is, I said this to my investment friend on PD, who was there before I got there. The plants you don't water today will have no harvest for you tomorrow. The plants you do not water today will have no harvest for you tomorrow. There is a lot of opportunity out here. A lot. Umar Johnson squandered a lot of opportunity. Even if he opens a school now, he's had that building for 4 years and some change. I keep hearing stories of women who said, when I started giving to this man, my little boy was little, and now he's a grown man. It's been 14 years. Even if you believe in Dr. Johnson's vision, that means he's failed a whole generation of Black boys by virtue of not getting this smack done. The seeds you do not water, the plants you do not care for today, will bear you no harvest tomorrow. And see, this is the thing. We have relative prosperity still, but one of the scenarios for the dissolution of the United States as we know it is disaffected people, technically men, no race necessary, who, having given up on life, have now begun to destroy resources and institutions that they feel don't serve them. Well, those institutions are serving us. So now, if you have a pitched battle between law enforcement and the military, but see, what you haven't thought about yet is how many people in the law enforcement and military actually feel almost the same way. But they will defend it because they still have something to live on. Do you want to be in the middle of that, though? That's one of the scenarios for a major banking crisis could cause that as well. Have y'all been paying attention to financial news? We as Black people cannot afford to go down into the Black rituals at a time like this. And I know that we are dealing with things in our lives, and I've now been told 3 times this week. I've heard this from people that I care about. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with that. I remember that being that person too in my 30s. You know what it dawned on me I finally had to do? Getting injured helped. That took all that stuff off of me. Now I had to figure out how to make enough money to survive. But other than that, since my life was relieved of a lot of things, just by virtue of that, when I came back, I began to realize, okay, I need to save bandwidth to do the essential things. People pleasing, not so much. Meaningless conversations, not so much. In 2022, I was tested again on this. I sought life coaching at the age of 40, decluttered my life tremendously. But at 41, I was tested again on this. Some of you could put two and two together about what I did. Some of you remember. You have to have the bandwidth necessary for the things that are essential to your life, to your children's lives, to your future. It does no good if I come and tell you, do this to save your life, and you come back and tell me I don't have the bandwidth. What you have essentially said to me is, you don't have the bandwidth to survive. I know a lot of people like this. You're going to get into the right rooms and do the right work or not. Just like Umar Johnson. He has physically deteriorated tremendously. Now, there's a lot of speculation about what he may or may not be consuming in his off time. There's a lot of speculation on his lifestyle and the STDs he may or may not have picked up, since I cannot confirm or deny any of it. But I will say this about him, comparing what he was like in the 20 teens to what he looks like today, falling victim to the common discourse in a time when Black wealth and Black opportunities as a mass, not for everybody, but as a mass, are going here. Our communities, our wealth are going here. Well, what can I say? This ain't what you want. I take no joy, even as Lennon Honor has said it, I take no joy in watching Dr. Johnson deteriorate. I have watched the Black community deteriorate, die, and disappear. From age 0 to age 18, I watched mine die. And from age 18 to age 39, I watched it disappear. Actually, no, 25. It was quick at the end. My grandmother had dementia and no longer knew where she lived anymore. The new people came and repainted all their houses and redid the neighborhood, and she never found her way home again. I don't tell that story often, but I need you to understand how serious it is. You don't have to be here, but you really must take into account the common discourse for our people is trifling at best and toxic at worst. It has been for quite some time. Now, we're not unique in that. This is a very violent, hypocritical country that we live in. I don't need to hear any arguments about that either. Native Americans were from sea to shining sea. If we were not this kind of nation, what happened? How did all that cotton and sugar get picked? How is it that we are derailing drains every 3 days if even white workers were treated correctly? How do we got all this EPA stuff going on? Huh? I don't want to hear it. Don't even come arguing with that. Or don't even come arguing with me and getting out of pocket about that. So when you have a discourse, when you have a country like that, yeah, the common discourse is going to be pretty trifling because people are going to be trying to cope. People are going to be trying to distract themselves. There's going to be a lot of performance. There's going to be a lot of styling, profiling, signifying, kicking it, and coping. And of course, American discourse is worried about whoever everybody else is in bed with all the time. The Bible is very clear about certain things, but the Christian is never turned to be obsessed about what other people are doing or not doing. We all have sinned and we all have to work. The Bible focuses on every Christian person controlling their own life, not everybody else's. But in a country that's trifling, that's the kind of stuff you get. You need to choose how you want to participate. If someone who is PhD level, at least in theory, now looks like a crackhead roaming the streets, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to me. It can happen to you. I want you to really think about the rooms you're in, why you're there, who are you, what are you there to accomplish, and when you're going to leave, and how you're going to leave. I really need y'all to start thinking about this at this season. Like I said, we're not sitting up here picking on Dr. Johnson. There's no point to that. We don't have any control about how he chooses to manage his life, except, of course, if you're giving him money, please stop. But other than that, we want to draw the lessons from the things we see around us. It is no good for us to always be projecting on other people being horrible if we are not keeping track of the things that we are doing that fit into that same category. It doesn't help us. In fact, it hurts us because it robs us of time to determine what we are going to do about our own situations. This is no time to not be thinking about what you're going to do about your own situations. There is, of course, a time for recreation and relaxing. But if that becomes the level of the discourse, if that's where we are, we're lost. Of course, that's not where we are on this channel. We're not going to that level of common discourse. That's not the plan here. And if y'all see me becoming trifling, call me on it. Because that's not what I was called here to do. And there's plenty of places online where you can go around the mulberry bush and hate whoever you hate. Spend all your time talking about what everybody else is doing. Plenty of channels to do that. Not here. Because here, I want you to have the resources necessary to be able to move forward in your life, to be able to be in better rooms, and to have a sense of what you might have to do to be able to fit in there and do well. And that's my hope for you. I don't want you to be someone who has a vision and does not know who to choose to have in the room in order to be able to do the work to carry that out. I don't want you to be in a room and not know what to do when things begin to deteriorate, as they often do in the churches and in the clubs and even in things like, good projects for schools and things like that. So for this channel, we're trying to do the things, we are speak on things in a way that will cause us to be able to move forward and to build in such a time as this. All right. Y'all have a good day now. If my leg is, if that was just a little tweak yesterday, it feels better now. I might get up, but if it happens, it'll be relatively early today. And if I get another thought, I'll share it with you later on. All right. Y'all have a good day now. Goodbye.